Hello, and welcome to today's presentation on Drupal and the Open Digital Experience Platform. In the presentation today, we'll be looking to define a Digital Experience Platform, or DXP, and identifying a few of their traits. Then we'll help you determine if a DXP is right for you. Next, we'll look at how we go about planning a DXP. Finally, we will briefly touch on how Drupal fits within a DXP ecosystem. Before we dive into the presentation today, I'd like to take a minute to introduce myself. My name is Scott Weston. I am a Drupal architect. I've been working in Drupal since about 2007, and I'm currently a principal Drupal architect at Bounteous. And at Bounteous, we partner with organizations to deliver best-in-class solutions that help create big picture digital solutions. We draw on our experience in strategy, design, engineering, analytics, and marketing in a way that helps leading companies deliver transformational brand experiences. If you'd like to learn more about what we do, visit us at bounteous.com or reach out to me after today's presentation. With that, let's dive right in and look at what is a DXP. As we start to look at DXPs, it's always good to have a solid definition of what a digital experience platform is. And we think that the Gartner organization provides a really good definition. It defines a DXP as an integrated set of core technologies that support the composition, management, delivery, and optimization of contextualized digital experiences. And DXPs generally entail a high degree of emphasis on interoperability and cross-channel continuity across the entire customer journey. When we look at DXPs, particularly those that are well implemented, we can see some common traits that provide a good illustration of that definition and what it means for organizations. And this can include things like interacting with customers at their various touch points, whether that's via email, via call center, on the website, recording activities and interactions with these customers and analyzing their behaviors. And together, this really helps the DXP, the system, provide recommended content, recommended calls to action, personalized campaigns, personalized experiences. And altogether, this really enables a comprehensive view of your customers and your prospects across all channels. A DXP isn't a standalone piece of software, but rather it's an ecosystem which either provides content, records activity, or performs analysis. Here are a few examples of what we typically see as parts of a DXP ecosystem within many organizations. In the first column here, we can see some of the systems that are often identified as part of an organization's web presence. This can include things like the CMS, a personalization engine, analytics tracking, a portal, and even a CDN. But really, any system that records activity or provides content for your audiences should be seen as part of the overall DXP. So this can include things like your customer data platform, CRM, point of sale system, rewards program. Again, anything that handles, records, or tracks data for your customers. Sometimes we are asked about what a DXP can do for a particular organization. Here are just a few of the benefits that DXPs can bring. For customers, it can provide a better experience in interacting with your organization. And this is done through tailored web experiences, even with personalization. And if the digital experience is customized and intuitive, it can really help resolve questions that head off an email or support call, which reduces the overall cost for that customer and increases their satisfaction. And then this translates into increased employee productivity. When data from the various systems are brought together and analyzed, it delivers better insights into your customers, which gives you amazing clarity into how to target your campaigns to turn them into conversions. And this data also helps the organization make better decisions and improve processes, which feed back into the DXP, making the experience for customers even better. If your organization is small, or maybe if your organization is just starting out trying to make digital experiences better for your audiences, you may be wondering if you need a DXP at this time. If you feel like you could leverage the benefits of the DXP to help elevate your organization, the answer is yes. But also, if you've ever thought or said something that is identifying a need that you have to see a clearer picture of your customers or improve your insights into what your customers are doing, a DXP will probably be the right move for you. So now let's dive in a little bit into planning out a DXP. The first step that we like to walk through with organizations as part of the planning process for their DXP is really identifying ownership and stakeholders for the DXP. The DXP needs multiple stakeholders in order to realize its full potential. Any group within your organization that interacts with customers or handles their data should really be involved in the planning and implementation of the DXP. Marketing and IT are always identified as the key stakeholders from a vision and implementation standpoint, but other groups within the organization like service delivery, customer service, BI, analytics, these groups should also be involved and provide input for what data should be tracked, what data should be retrievable, in order to maximize utilization of the system. And that in turn helps you realize the full benefits of your DXP. As we go about choosing the constituent systems of a DXP, it's important to realize that there is not a one-size-fits-all set of components that make up that DXP. The ideal DXP is the one that works best for your organization. Some of the things to keep in mind when architecting your DXP include things like a review of the existing components that you have that can be used as part of your DXP. If you have some of those systems already, that's great. But it's also time to think about evaluating, does that system serve its intended purpose, or will it be serving the intended purpose in the future state of your DXP? If not, does that system need to be recalibrated to align with your strategy, or does it need to be replaced? And next, when evaluating the new tools that will be added into this ecosystem, consider where they're coming from. And this is really from a vendor standpoint. Some vendors offer more open systems that can plug into a DXP. Others are a little more proprietary and locked in. So really answering the question, are you okay with getting locked into a specific vendor? We typically recommend avoiding vendor lock-in where possible. If a vendor doesn't fully enable the free movement of data into and out of their systems, or if that system is limited in its capacity or maybe the data format that you get out of it, or even if you're locked into other systems that vendor sells, that should be a warning sign. We always encourage the selection of systems that are open. This means that they are easily integrated with other systems via REST calls or APIs, and they have means of transferring data from one system to another, and they can consume data in a flexible format. This gives you the most choice, the most flexibility in the long term. And if you choose closed systems, oftentimes they try to keep you tied into that vendor's ecosystem. And while that may be quicker in getting it set up and getting it out the door, getting it launched, it becomes inflexible and rigid and possibly even more expensive in the long term when you do want to evolve your DXP to the next level. When we plan a DXP, we typically put together an architecture diagram which shows the constituent systems and how they will interact with one another. In this example, we have a DXP plan which shows how consumers and employees will be interacting with the platform. If we look at the point of view of a consumer, they are interfacing with content that is being supplemented with tools like personalization, ads, and on-site campaigns. There are also external systems that the consumer or site visitor will be interacting with, such as a customer portal or a knowledge base. And all of these interactions are powered by multiple systems working together behind the scenes to provide a cohesive experience to the user. As you're planning out your DXP, think about how these components will all fit together. Think about the current systems and how they interact with one another. Think about the future state systems and how they will interact with one another. And also give consideration to the audiences that will be interacting with the systems and how their experience will be in getting data into and out of those systems. Also, when doing the planning, keep in mind that you may not be ready for everything at once. Planning out the future state here will give you visibility into the solutions that you'll be able to solve today and those for tomorrow. In the architecture plan diagram, we typically group systems into major categories or by the functions that they provide. If we take a look at our example diagram here, we can see the experience section is sitting just behind the CDN. And the experience section has the functionality that interacts with customers from the main website. We have things like surfacing content from the CMS, as well as personalization from a personalization engine. And all of the content related systems are backed by the content component section towards the middle of the diagram. In here, we have things like content entry, translations, campaigns, digital asset management, and all of these are working together to serve content to the consumer. And in our diagram here, you'll notice that the journey definition in the content components section and the journey item in the experience group are muted and have a yellow highlight. This is our pattern to show that this will be addressed in a future phase of the DXP build out. And then in cases where a system or functionality is not identified as ever being needed, we will gray that out totally. There are a few things worth mentioning related to the diagram. We intentionally don't mention specific vendors or products as part of this diagram. In architecture diagramming, we want to focus really on the functions that are needed. Then we can align that with existing products or services and layer in new vendors and systems that will be part of the equation. This makes sure that you're focusing on functionality that you need first and not relying on what specific products do to help determine or help craft your DXP. An important part to call out about DXPs is the need to understand that the planning and implementation of a DXP is not really a one-time event. It needs to be viewed as more like a first step. A DXP is something that really needs care and feeding. It needs to be able to evolve over time, either through the progression of your DXP roadmap, or it needs to be able to adapt as your needs change. For example, when it comes time to add a new tool that provides, for example, lead scoring and segmenting to your DXP, you'll want to be sure that all of your existing systems can provide data into the new scoring system, as well as surface data to campaigns and analytics so that the entire ecosystem is benefiting from that new lead scoring and segmenting system. And as that evolution progresses, you will need to rely more and more on the openness of the services that make up your DXP, so that when you do implement a lead scoring service, for example, you have the free flow of data into and out of that lead scoring service. If a service provider makes it hard or they try to prevent you from accessing your data because they're trying to keep you on their platform, it makes implementing that service challenging. But if you work with vendors that give you access to APIs or other means of extracting and manipulating and inserting data, it makes the implementation of the new service and the overall evolution of your DXP much easier. When we talk about vendor lock-in, we're really driving at this. If a vendor does not get in the way of you and your data, you can certainly have multiple or all of your services from them. It's when they try to force you into picking their additional services over others when we see problems with vendor lock-in. So how does Drupal fit into an overall open DXP ecosystem? I think that the first thing most people will talk about is Drupal as a website. Drupal is absolutely an amazing CMS. And since the website is one of the main pieces or main places that we interact with our customer, it makes sense for Drupal to serve that role in the DXP. But Drupal is capable of a lot more within that DXP, particularly when Drupal is leveraged as a framework and an application provider. Drupal can provide content across a network of systems, and it can consume content via APIs from other systems to power things like apps and signage and portals. And Drupal serves as a mechanism through which other systems can provide customers personalized or recommended content and doing things like A/B testing or trying to test campaigns for your customers. So if we go back to our example architecture diagram, and if we layer in how Drupal can fit into the picture, we can very easily see that Drupal can bring a lot to bear on the open DXP ecosystem. Obviously, as we mentioned, we have the content and the content management of the DXP. It can also be configured to function as a DAM, to handle complex content management workflows, to serve up translated and localized content. Drupal can also, out of the box, handle site search, and it can also be set up to serve as a knowledge base or microsites or other smaller sites within the overall ecosystem, as well as to provide portal access to other systems that are internal on your network. Then, when we layer in components of the DXP system, which can be handled by standard offerings from open digital providers that specialize in Drupal-related hosting, as well as marketing services, the majority of common components are covered. And this includes things like the A/B testing, the management of campaigns, customer data platforming, content marketing, cookie management. All of these can be handled well within the capabilities of these service providers. I hope that this session has given you some helpful information about DXPs and how to go about crafting an open DXP that is set up for long-term success for your organization. As a quick bit of review, DXPs can provide rich, personalized experiences for your customers, and a DXP can give you greater clarity and insight into your customers and their behaviors. DXPs do require planning and thoughtful execution to be set up correctly and to gain the maximum benefit from them. And in general, we recommend going towards open systems that give you full access to your data and can adapt what they do to fit your unique needs. And as we just learned, Drupal can fill many key roles in an overall DXP architecture. Thank you.